Have you ever wondered how much money you need to make to afford a house like this, or this? Deciding to either buy or rent is a very nerve-wracking process, and there is tons of information on the internet and it doesn't help. If you're like some of my clients, you want a clear-cut answer to how much house you can afford based on your salary. So today I'm going to be talking about how much house you can afford buying or renting based on your salary. And stick around because the answer might surprise you. A huge difference in your housing expenses whether you decide to rent or buy. When you own a house, your mortgage is the minimum you'll be paying per month. When you rent, if the property taxes rise, don't worry about it. If the roof leaks, call your landlord. They'll take care of it. When you're renting, your rent payment is the only payment you have for that specific property. However, when it comes to buying, you have your mortgage. And on top of that, you have unexpected payments. Your grass gets out of control, you have to cut it or hire somebody to cut it. Your AC leaks, you have to take care of it. Your hot water heater goes out, damn, you gotta take care of that too. There are so many unexpected expenses that you have to pay for when it comes to home ownership, which is why we say, when you own a house, your mortgage is the minimum you'll pay per month because everything comes up seemingly at the same time. That being said, however, home ownership can still be a better financial decision because you have the ability to build equity, you have tons of tax benefits, and you can use it as leverage to buy other investments. Now, if you want to know how to get the best deal on your real estate purchase, make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn on the notifications so that you do not miss a video. For home buying to make sense, the numbers have to be in your favor. You have to buy the right house, you have to buy at the right time, and you have to buy at the right price. Now, does it make more sense to buy or does it make more sense to rent? It's an old saying that you have to stay within 30% of your income when you're renting a house. And again, that's an old saying. It's out the window. Now, using the 30% rule, let's see how much house these three people can afford based on their income. So Johnny, who makes $50,000 a year, he can only afford $1,250 in rent. Dale, who makes $80,000 a year, can afford $2,000. And Steve, who makes $120,000 a year, can afford $3,000 in rent. To meet the median rent here in Maryland of $2,350, you would have to make $94,000 a year. So Dale and Johnny would have to make a lot more money than they're currently making to meet the average rent. Now, the reason the 30% rule is an outdated rule is because it doesn't consider different markets' living expenses. So a place like DC or Northern Virginia, their average rent will be much more expensive than here in Maryland. So what we use instead is the 50-30-20 rule. Now, the 50-30-20 rule states that 50% of your income should be used on housing, food, and utility. 30% should be used as your lifestyle, and 20% should be used in savings. So using the 50-30-20 rule, Johnny jumps up to $2,088, Dale jumps up to $3,333, and Steve jumps up to $5,000 that he can afford in rent. Now, the 50-30-20 rule gives you a lot more comfortability and flexibility when it comes to how much you can afford. But if your expenses get out of control, then this is the less that you can allocate towards your housing, food, and utilities. When buying a house, we use a little bit of a different strategy. We use the 28-36 rule. This rule states that your mortgage payment shouldn't exceed 28% of your gross monthly income, and that your mortgage payments plus PMI plus taxes and insurance and all other expenses shouldn't exceed 36% of your gross monthly income. And we use gross monthly income here because your net profit can vary depending on the deductions you take. So for example, I can be making $100,000, but if I'm allocating more into my TSP, my 401k, my Roth IRA, then I can take home $50,000. But a person who's making $60,000 can also be taking home and netting $50,000. While our gross is different, we still have the same net, but I'm allocating them towards resources that I can pull from to be able to utilize for things like a home purchase or other life costs. Now, using the 28-36 rule, Johnny is now able to afford a mortgage payment of $1,166 and all his debts at $1,500. Dale, at his $80,000 income, is able to afford a mortgage payment of $1,866 and all his debts at $2,400. Steve, at his $120,000 income, is able to afford a mortgage of $2,800 and all his debts at $3,600. Of course, when you're buying a house, you have to get pre-approved with the lender. So not only are they going to look at your gross monthly income, but they're also going to look at your debt and how well you manage that on top of your income. And they get what's called a debt to income ratio. Your debt to income ratio works by taking your gross monthly debt, dividing that by your gross monthly income, and rounding it out to a percentage. So for example, if I make $10,000, but my debts are at $9,000, my debt to income ratio is 90%. A lot of lenders want you to be at a 42% or less when it comes to your debt to income ratio. But the higher your credit, the more flexible they are with that. So should you buy or should you rent? You need to run the numbers and determine what works best for you and your lifestyle. Renting is not always a waste of money, but buying isn't always the best option. Do what's best for you and your financial situation in congruence with your lifestyle. If you like this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this one, you'll like this video too. It's been Gerald Jordan, your favorite DMV realtor, and I'm signing out.